All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tools for Transformation. I've got Dawn Strom here, who has the most amazing title ever. So I'm going to read it so I get it right. She is an embodiment mentor and business strategist for movement creators, which I am big into niching. And I think that that is just an amazingly clear and specific niche. Dawn has been an equestrian, a runner, a dancer, a philosopher, a business owner, and a mom. And she's been doing this work, it sounds like for a long time. You've even done a master's in it, but kind of 15 years is what I'm feeling. Have I got that right?
15 to 20, yeah.
15 to 20 years. And so we've kind of been in this game. If it's 20, I've been in this game for about 15 years too. So that's nice to be with a I don't know what you call that, but one of those.
We started in the same time in human history, huh?
Yeah. So that's cool. So we're talking today to Dawn about embodiment, and I thought before I start asking Dawn the questions that I normally ask in the Tools for Transformation column, I would give you a little bit of background about how I met Dawn, which was about 5 years ago, and at that stage in my life, it was an interesting time. We just moved back to Australia from living overseas in Thailand and Spain and Sweden for a while. And I was still very much in my head kind of person, business analyst, a very traditional life coach type person. And, I was doing business coaching and support and software development for life coaches. And Dawn and I did some work together back then, and she was working out one of her early signature programs, and she used this word embodiment, and I didn't know what that was. So for me, whenever I think about the word embodiment, which is all over the place now, Dawn and I were just talking about how it's in the collective consciousness, like this massive conference. What was that conference called that you were just at?
The Embodiment Conference.
Oh, of course, the Embodiment. And how many people attended that conference?
Well, there were 500,000 people that registered for it.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So anyway, so that's just 5 years later, but I didn't know what that word meant. I was like, okay. And I still, like, she was, explaining it, like, it sounded good and everything, but, it was her niche, whatever. But she planted a seed there. And I think too, on my spiritual journey, so I was about in my 40s then. And I think the only spiritual book I had read up to that point was The Power of Now, which was maybe I read in my late 30s. And like, I knew it was important and really significant. And some of it, especially the bit about the pain body, had made a big impact on me. But most of that book was actually totally over my head, even though I felt it's significant. So that was it. Like, that was my spiritual level at that stage when we first met. Now, fast forward 5 years. I don't know about you, Dawn, but I have been on a hell of a ride in my own personal growth and with my business. I think our businesses are massive tools for transformation in and of themselves. It was actually an injury. We were talking about injury earlier, and I had a really bad ankle injury, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to fix it. Nobody could help me. And that brought me to yoga. It brought me to Pilates. It brought me to mindful sending light and love and visualizations for having a happy and healthy ankle. And that actually changed my ankle. So, which then was just a gateway to a whole lot more transformation. So I kind of would like to attribute you, Dawn, to like being that little crack in the eggshell. For
That's
me,
great.
planting that seed of embodiment. So it's so appropriate that we're doing this this embodiment interview, and it's with you. So thank you so much for circling back and talking to coaches, healers, therapists, teachers, mentors, people who are helping other people, and just enlightening us on the importance and the significance of embodiment. So there's my intro, my story.
That's lovely. I love it.
All right.
Happy to be the crack in the egg.
All right. So let's get into the interview. So first, let's have some history. I mean, I know embodiment, normally, we do processes, that have actually a founder and everything. So, but let's talk about what's the history. Where does embodiment come from?
Yeah. So this word, I mean, as we were talking about earlier too, it's become sort of this kind of massive word in our coach culture now. Um, and it actually doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have an actual like anchor. There's no person that invented the word embodiment. It's more of what I like to refer to as sort of a cultural movement. And I think about it really as a practical movement towards connection. All right. So, and pretty much this term, you could use it as complexly or as simply as you like. I like to start simply because it's really easy to get big with things. But the Webster definition of it is essentially just like to make something intangible tangible, to make an idea visible, to make a feeling real and felt. It's to kind of take that, what we were talking about as almost kind of the mystery, right, of who we are, and bring it forward, bring it into our physical expression, right? And so embodiment, what I've seen, in the 20 years that I've been in this world, and I'll talk a little bit about somatics, which is another word that I think links into the kind of history of embodiment. But I think embodiment is, like I said, a cultural movement, but also kind of a personal process, right? So it's an opportunity for people, personal and a collective process, um, to go deeper into how they're showing up in their lives and to connect to their experience of their body as foundational, to their experience of being alive and of how they experience the world. So I think that, and as a community then too, as communities come together around embodiment, it's to explore how do we show up in new ways, right? That actually, produce this valuing of life, this valuing of connection, and that explore new ways of being together, new ways of being embodied together.
Can you
So that, yeah.
can you give us a little way to be embodied right now so that everybody actually feels what embodiment is in this moment?
Yeah. So, I mean, the simplest way to what I like to call it tuning in, right? Is just to tune into your breath. And this is used in meditation. I mean, meditation, for instance, would be a form of embodiment, right? It's a way of connecting to your body. So you can do this just by closing your eyes. You can keep your eyes open, but just connecting into your breath. Or the other pathway that I really like is to feel weight. Okay, because weight is really
I like
grounding.
that one too. Yeah.
So usually in my work with people, I focus on weight first, and we do what's commonly known as sort of a body scan, right? So if you were to just close your eyes right now, and just wet it wherever you're sitting, you don't need to posture anything or move your body at all. Just really feel your weight and feel how you're landing in your body, where you feel weight, how, kind of where you're sitting, what's anchoring into the chair you're sitting on, or if you're standing, where your weight is in your feet. Um, and this will really bring you into your bones too, because your bones are really what transfers weight in your body. So, just allowing yourself to come in and feel weight. And then if you want to move into the potential for breath, you can move into breath as well. And the breath is a different kind of anchor. It's a little bit more fluid and dynamic, but it's a way to connect into another feeling state, right? So the breath can help you connect into your sense of coming and going, of releasing and letting go, of receiving and releasing. So each way that you tune into your body can actually open up some different pathways to experiencing connection with yourself, connection with the world around you. So if we stick with the bones for a second, actually, if we're all kind of just sticking with the bones and the breath, what you'll find is once you start to feel weight, you might want to move. You might start to feel like, oh, I don't actually like where that weight is sitting, right? I want to maybe sit a little more upright, or I want to maybe shift to the other side. And you start to move into comfort, right? You start to tune in and start to feel like what might feel better. Where else might you want to be that might feel more in alignment for you, right? Just as if you start to tune into the breathing, for instance, the breathing is an excellent measure, a sort of biofeedback measure of like how you're feeling initially, right? So almost 100% of clients that I initially work with, like they don't breathe. They come in and they're like, I mean, like literally there's like no, like there, I work with like high level intellectual PhDs, MDs a lot, and people that like, not that they don't necessarily breathe, but they spend a lot of time sort of in high stress environments thinking, right? And so it's very easy to be in a state of stress and not realize it. So just tuning into the breathing is another way to tune into another aspect of your experience, right? So, breathing, like I said, can give you a really quick meter on your emotional state, whether you're feeling restful. So if you just tune into your breathing, so we did the bones, you may have felt the need to move and shift, and you may have moved into a little more comfortable position. So now if you go back to your breathing, like I can feel like I'm holding my breath a little. It's partly actually where I'm sitting and how I'm sitting, but you'll kind of be able to feel where you're breathing in your body. And you'll be able to start to tune into if it's shallow or deep, right? If it feels like it's producing a sense of tension, or if it's producing a sense of relaxation.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
I'm so relaxed right now. Like,
I love it. I'm picking
where's
up on
my
it.
bed?
So great. I know. And it's like morning over there. It's like 10 o'clock at night. So, it's a great example of how tuning into your body puts you immediately in touch, right? With your anchor, your groundedness through gravity into the earth, how you feel in relationship to your environment, right? What emotional state you're in, for instance, with the breathing. And it gives you both kind of, I call it sort of a diagnostic and prescriptive opportunity,
I
right? So
love that.
it's diagnostic in the sense that it tunes you into where you're at. So it tells you, like with the weight, for instance, like that's a great one. I use this a lot in my movement coaching work, just because like immediately you start to feel like, posture, right? Are you out of are you sinking forward? Are you shifting your chin forward? Or is your weight pitching forward? And you immediately start to feel the relief of coming into balance in your body. You start to feel that sense of alignment. If you start to make small shifts and learn how to listen and look for alignment. And the same with the breathing, right? So if you tune into the breathing and you realize you're holding your breath, you can choose, you can make a different choice. So it starts to give you a pathway into making choices about where you put your awareness, and how you can use your body as a tool to really create how you want to be and how you want to feel, and what you want to attend to, which doesn't mean like, and as we were talking about, this doesn't mean like you can necessarily just like, show up in your body and turn on the happiness meter. If you're stressed out, all of a sudden you just, but the reality is like your body is physiological, right? So if you start to breathe and feel a sense of comfort, you're going to start to feel comfortable. Like it's a feedback loop,
Yeah.
So there's a dialogue there that gives you agency over your experience in a really tangible way. Which, is different maybe than you talked about being kind of the old school coaching model, or some, when I first started learning some different coaching tools, like it's different than maybe working with beliefs, right? Or going right to the head and working with ideas, and I think it's a way into what you're experiencing and feeling that can make more rapid shifts and give you the tools to make more rapid shifts. In terms of, and not just even rapid shifts, but to get more information, right? More
I've got
quickly.
I've got this tickle in my cough. There's a tickle in my throat. Sorry if I die choking.
It's an embodied experience here.
It wasn't, yeah, but what does it mean?
What does it mean? Well, sometimes it means nothing. So just so you know.
Yeah, good. Thank you for telling me that. I can kind of over assign meaning to things sometimes.
Yes.
Which I love. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to circle back to a couple of things. That landing body scan exercise. Sometimes in some of my team meetings, we do that first, especially if people have come in and we're running a bit late, and we do that body scan and we just kind of do a little check-in, that landing. And that's so nice. Like what often comes up for me is, wow, I didn't realize that I was feeling this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do that. I love that diagnostic.
Yeah.
And then just that little, prescriptive, like, okay, maybe I just need to sit up a bit or move my foot over there. Or,
Well, what's really
Yeah.
interesting about that is your body it goes back to this deeper level of knowing, right? So like, and I experienced this when I was leading this a couple minutes ago, and you or whoever's listening may also have felt like, you just naturally want to move into more balance once you listen, right? And your body knows where to go. It's like, oh, if I move here, right, that's going to feel better, right? So it's a skill set that also transfers into other areas of life, into other areas. So that's the thing, right? It's not just like, I work with people, a lot of times people come to me because they have pain in their body that they don't, like idiopathic pain. They don't know, they've been to all the people, they don't, like with your ankle, like it's not getting better. I don't know, they're maybe highly skilled at all their homework exercises, but nothing's working or whatever, and so it's really about them learning how to develop their own capacity to understand what their body's telling them about where they need to, it could be a physical shift they need to make. It could be an emotional shift. It
Yeah.
could be something they need to bring awareness to or understanding around.
I think for me, my
Yeah.
ankle was, it was, there's a soul shift you need to make. There was all this stuff, I think, from my childhood and my parents divorcing that I didn't see as a trauma or anything that needed
Yeah.
healing because it wasn't, terrible, but it was to me.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
And so it was my indicator, girl, wake up. There's
Yeah.
some work to do. And it led me on a path over, a course of 5 years of this transformation.
Yeah.
So I love that um like just taking and doing that little body scan. I mean, that's something we can do in any moment of any day. And there's a big movement, I guess, since the whole new age movement started, about living consciously. And I really feel like
Mhm.
that is the key, or it's the
Yeah.
first step, just that tuning in, because the body does know.
Yeah.
And even if we like blow that out to even business, if I
Yeah.
just stop in my busyness during my day of all of the projects I got going on and just do that scan, and what is the most important thing right now,
Yeah.
Benay? And it might be to do that next thing, or it might be to go to for a walk,
Yeah.
but to
Well,
just to remember to do that.
yeah. Well, and the thing that's interesting about that, right? So, because the word alignment's really big in the business world right now too.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure it has lots of meanings to different people. But for me, it means like it's the same thing, right? So it's like the feeling of alignment, because I've spent years and years and years working on alignment in my body, like physical alignment. So like
Yes.
for me, when I think about something like, is this project, what is the next project I should work on? How should I grow my business, right? Like I tune in to, I get aligned in my body first, because that's the feeling I'm looking for. So when I hold up this project or this project, right? It's not like, I'm not like, I mean, sometimes, I can use sort of rational ways to approach this, too, but largely it's like, how does it feel? Does one thing feel like it pulls me out of alignment, or does it make me feel expansive and in alignment? Like largely we're seeing a movement in the coaching business, in the business section of it too, to really integrate these experiential elements, right, as guideposts, as the actual guide, and ideally there would be a nice integration, right, where you could be the strategist and the experiential intuitive, and like that's always been
Isn't that what we're creating? Come on.
yeah,
We're
exactly.
getting
And
there.
so it's something I've been always really interested in, how do all these different facets of our ability to sort of perceive and connect work together? And certainly different personalities and different people are stronger in different ways. But, so it's the physical alignment transfers into the other experiences, the experiential awareness too, and how you perceive alignment in other ways, and how you might use how something feels in your body to make a decision, for instance. Um, so,
I've
I think
actually,
it's
yeah, I've been
yeah,
doing that lately because I've had so many projects, and I'll be like,
yeah,
it's feeling like too much. And so I will
yeah,
feel into each project and play it forward a little bit and feel that, and then
yeah,
feel into the other one. And that
yeah,
can give me some good information that if I just looked at it black and white for what's there now, I
yeah,
might not, it's a different
yeah,
knowing. or different
Well, and it's
awareness?
not like just feeling is what you're looking for either, right? It's not like we're looking to just make complete decisions off of feeling either, but it's one of the many
It,
facets. So like I
mm,
would say like I use breathing a lot for that too. If I start to feel like about projects or like it causes like stress or it makes me feel
yeah,
like I can't breathe or I mean, I just like I have so little tolerance for that at this point in my life. I'm just like off the docket. But
yeah.
you know, if it's something that I feel like I mean, if it's extreme, then it's just, I just let it go. But like, if it's something that I'm like, I feel like there might be some deeper breath with that. If I just listen a little more deeply, then maybe it's something I need to shift in the project, or maybe, you know, so there's a bigger dialogue that happens there too, that's
Mm,
about thinking and connecting and using reason and using strategy, but it's in dialogue, right? With how I also want to feel with what I'm doing, because I want to feel you know, I want to feel purposeful and productive, but productive in a purposeful, creative way, you know, that
mhm,
I need to be also relaxed and I need to, you know, and I mean, stress is like worse than smoking. Like it's literally like it's terrible for your body. It's one of the main
yeah.
causes of disease. Like, I mean, chronic stress, like now, obviously stressors are just part of, you know, our life and so forth, but like chronic stress, you know, like using that as a meter that you're always in stress, it's just
Mm.
anyways, that's so many
And
different issues. So
it's very aging too. I am
yeah,
less, I look younger now in my 40s than I did in my 30s.
you look amazing.
Where I had like a
I was
really,
actually thinking that, I'm like, 5 years ago, you look younger now. But, you know,
thank you. It's
we've been
not just
through
in
an
my
incredible
mind then.
it'd be okay if it was in your mind too,
Okay,
but,
okay.
you know, and it's been such a stressful year. So I've really noticed this year, and it's become even more important, this piece of tuning in, right, to your body and deciding. It's a decision to say, I'm not going to lean into things that take me into a state of stress. Or if they start to take me into a state of stress, you know, if I can't let them go, if they're actually something I need to work through, then I'm going to create the space and the support that's necessary to do that. You know, like with your ankle, for instance. And,
Mm,
you know, a lot of times when people first start encountering embodiment, it is for a health reason. And a lot of times it has to do with unresolved trauma. You
mm,
know, trauma doesn't have to, it's anything that makes you feel threatened, makes your life feel threatened in some way.
mm,
You know, like it doesn't have to be, it can be your parents getting divorced. It doesn't have to be, you know, being left on the side of the street or experiencing incredible violence or like, I mean, it doesn't have to be something totally extreme. It can be something that makes you feel like, you know, it's out of control. You know, essentially your resources are less than the demands and the challenges of the
yeah.
situation. And with, you know, trauma from childhood when you're young and you don't have the ability, whether it's to process or to come to your own inner alignment around something or understanding of something. Um, a lot of what I see come up first in the body is unresolved information and trauma or things that you just need to attend to. And that takes time. You know,
Mm,
we were talking about a lot of in the sort of transformation world or the way embodiment sometimes gets used in the coaching world, you know, these 8-week programs or 6-week programs. And it's certainly been my experience in, you know, 15 to 20 years as a movement therapist that, you know, sometimes it's a long process. And, you know, just, you know, knowing that, you know, you can find the right support, you know, whether it's a therapist or a movement therapist or a coach, whoever's got the right training to help you kind of sort through and heal and find your own resources to move forward. Um, you know, there's a lot of different modalities out there that are embodiment modalities, right? That have certain focuses and expertise to unpack whatever's coming up in your experience. But which leads me actually back to something I want to talk about really quickly, which is somatics, which is another term because somatics does sort of have an anchor. Thomas Hanna was the inventor of the term somatics, and he was really so somatics has its roots more in the movement world. And somatics just means the study of the living body, so the living experience of the body. And I really think the term embodiment has come largely out of the somatics movement. Um, one of the first training programs I did was a program called Global Somatics, which was largely based on body mind centering, and which is another modality that was created by Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, who was an occupational therapist. And it had to do with movement patterns and kind of a systems approach to the body. And there's actually a whole international somatic movement therapy education and an association now that certifies people, or it doesn't certify, but it sort of registers different training programs and that sort of thing. And there's become, you know, PhD programs in somatic psychology. Like there's that word is, I think, in some ways been actually as a deeper root in the culture.
So
And I think,
just for people
yeah,
who are listening, we'll put some links for you in this article to all of those if you're interested in going down the rabbit hole of somatics and maybe taking on some training yourself
yeah.
in that area. So just circling back, just in case people are frantically trying
Yeah,
to.
no, and I just wanted to mention it because I think embodiment is in some ways more of a meta term. It's a term like somatics that I think I don't know what it's going to bring forth in the next 10 years here, but I think that it had its roots on some level in somatics. But also like we talked about, embodiment, the word has been used in cognitive science. It's used in other disciplines as well, just to refer to the experience of the body, the exploration of what it means to be in a body, to experience life through a body, so yeah, I think it's a really interesting, really interesting term. It's a really interesting, gateway into a process.
It's a
And
gift.
it's a gift. Yes.
It's a
And
gift we all have, and so
it is.
many of us overlook it.
No, it's like,
I did.
it's so fundamental, right? Like, it's like, we're here because we have a body and we were
And
born.
it's so funny. Of course,
And
we
we're gonna
have a
die.
body, but I've spent most of my years like not connecting to it, not listening to it. So, but those times are past.
Yeah.
Welcome into the
Well,
next 50 years.
it bookends our life, right? Like we were born, right? We grew out of a body, and then our body eventually ends, So like, it's like our life is like contextualized by the life of the body. Yeah. So
okay, let's
yes.
move on to the next question, which I think you've kind of covered it, but maybe we could just summarize what makes embodiment such a transformational process thing for people. If you can kind of give us a soundbite, why is it so transformational?
Yeah, I just think it's a direct pathway into you, into your soul, into your being, into the information of what you're experiencing. It takes you down right to the source of your experience, and like I said, sometimes people they go into their body and they hit something they need to work through in their experience. It's like you got to clean out the layer, you clean out and peel the layers of the onion.
Don't tell me about the onion. Oh my God.
That's a terrible metaphor now. I need another
metaphor. Mine is so big.
I know.
No, I'm just kidding. I love the onion.
When onions make you cry, right? We really need another.
Okay.
It doesn't always have to be tears, but sometimes it's uncontrollable laughter. But yeah, so I think the power of, like, even with what we talked about with the breathing, right, and the bones and the gravity, like it's just a direct pathway into the source of your experience, versus trying to think about your thoughts, or like think about one aspect of your experience. It takes you right into like, well, what am I actually feeling right now? And I find this is super helpful, even just I have a 4-year-old, right? So just even in parenting, like because I'll get in a moment where we're having a thing and there's an energy, and you get into something, and to just create a little space, right, where you can like drop in and say, hey, what am I actually feeling right now? Because I'm in the feeling, but to bring awareness to it, and then it immediately starts to shift as soon as you have the awareness. So it gives you that power, which is what I believe is sort of fundamentally our power for creating change within ourselves and creating change in our environment, which is our power to choose. And it really chooses our awareness. And this year being in the pandemic, I've realized that even more than ever, with so much that was not in my control, that at the end of the day, like, I get to choose what I pay attention to, and what I give energy to, and awareness and thought. And, so yeah, I think that's what makes it so transformational. And why it's becoming such a huge tool in coaching too, because I think that's the whole goal of coaching, right? Is to facilitate transformation and to facilitate people being fulfilling their potential as human beings, which essentially is sort of bringing all of that forth and expressing it, So, like I said, a lot of people come to me for embodiment work with a health crisis or some sort of a need within their health, but also people are seeking out embodiment now for other kinds of reasons too. This is what I've seen in the last 10 years, whether it's leadership, there's a ton of embodiment work around leadership, in business, anywhere you want to really have a more direct access to your authentic self, and you want to bring that forward, in a way that's clear and intuitive and brings all of you to the table, I think that's where you start to see this term crop up, and where you start to see
Mm.
people bringing in, you know,
It's
different tool sets, because there's so many tool sets, you know.
yes. What's your take on the relationship between embodiment and mindfulness? Are they the
I
same or
think
are they different?
I would say mindfulness is a kind of embodiment. Like I said, I think embodiment is largely a cultural movement. It's an idea. It's an idea that's anchored and practical at the same time. It's an ontological shift. I mean, it's really a shifting away from identifying with thought as the primary mode of being, into really identifying with the experience of the body.
Mm.
Um,
Because that's
it's
really
an epistemology.
presence, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, when you're connected to your body, you're present
yeah.
in the
And
present
mindfulness,
moment.
yeah, and that's what mindfulness, that's the goal of mindfulness as well. So I would say mindfulness is like a form of embodiment. It's an embodiment tool, right? So
Mm.
I think of like embodiment as a meta concept for certain tools that bring you into your body and keep you in contact with, you know, the bigger sense of yourself, right? And help you create space and different ways to dialogue with that information. And there's just been so much growth around this, and different kinds of ways that people do this, and methodologies. And, you know, I work with some of my clients are actually other coaches and healers and embodiment people. And, you know, I just love working with people on their unique embodiment method, right? Because
Mhm.
like everybody, it's like we've all got bodies, we've all got beating hearts, but like breathing lungs, you know. But it's like there's so many ways in, you know, there's so many
Mm.
ways to listen. There's so many, you know, yeah, anyways. And even if there are a few kind of key ways, right? The way that people show up is so unique, you know.
Mm.
And so, you know, one person teaching mindfulness and another person teaching mindfulness are
Yes.
two unique presences showing up with different soul information, right? Like different body information.
Yes.
Um,
And different experiences. Okay.
yeah,
Da, 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 da. I don't know if this next, I'm going to ask it anyway. So
yeah,
what type of client is embodiment perfect for? It sounds like it's perfect for everybody, but
yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, the way I could probably answer that question best is to say the kind of people that I see seek it out,
mhm,
right, are going to be people, like I said, that have some kind of, they seek it out for health reasons. So they're in pain. Pain is
mhm,
a huge source because it immediately brings you into your body.
yeah.
You're like, I'm in pain.
I am
And a
in my
lot of times
body.
I see pain show up in because people ignore their bodies, right? Like sometimes,
Yeah,
not all the time, but
that was
sometimes pain
me.
starts to show up. Yeah, because you know, you for whatever reason, it may not even been a choice at some point in time. You may
Mm,
have disassociated or chosen to not pay attention to a certain kind of information because you didn't know how to process it. In some ways, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. But you know, what matters is that in the moment, you have the ability to choose and to pay attention in a different way, and to connect in a different way. Um, and then to start to create some different movement, right? So even if it's very small, you know, you can start, like you mentioned that you imagined light, you imagined yourself doing yoga poses before you could even do them, you know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that there's a level of, sometimes it's just a shift of saying, you know, maybe you're dealing with something really deep in a physical issue, a deep, you know, it could be a physical pain, it could be an emotional pain. Sometimes it's just being, you know, starting out by just being with it, and
Mm,
being able to be with it without judgment. So there's where like mindfulness is a tool, right?
mhm.
Of being able to show up and be without judgment, and start to create some space where then you can start to say, well, you know, sometimes that shifts it actually. Sometimes letting go of
Yeah,
judgment.
that I found actually being with
Yeah.
myself without judgment has been massive.
Yeah.
Like,
When sometimes then it's having to go into where the pain is coming from, what started
mm,
it, where it's, you know, it may be a physical pattern that's coming from an energetic pattern in your body, you know, because the physical body will mirror that, you know. So it's I mean, emotionally, if you're pulling away, like, and you know, it's going to create a pattern in your body, you know, and so
mhm.
it may create a pain pattern at some point if it's pulling your body, physical body out of alignment. So,
Okay, so for our
yeah,
listeners, if you or any of your clients are
yes,
experience a physical pain, then
yes,
let's maybe explore some embodiment practices as a,
yeah,
a starting point. I mean, I
that's
think
cool.
yeah, I think it sounds like it's relevant to everybody, but that's a really great place to
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
okay.
and also in business and in leadership, like we were talking about too. So, like, if you want to explore more deeply what I actually, a lot of what the clients that I work with too are really interested in is just being more in tune, right? They want to shift some of these deeper patterns. They want to be more in alignment. They want to make different decisions in other areas of their life and feel more empowered and more self-expressed. And in business, they want to feel like they're in alignment with what's authentic. They're really delivering their full soul message. There's this bigger sense of this interest and this desire to step into leadership, step into expression.
Okay, so if if there's pain or
If
there's a
there's
longing for alignment, a new level of alignment.
Yes, an
I love that.
expression.
That's very clear. That's very clear.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
here's a juicy one for people who are listening. How easy or hard has it been for you to create a business from embodiment?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to say I've had a business for 15 years. It has supported me, and I've had many iterations of it. But I would say that certainly when I started, I have not primarily niched my business as embodiment. I think now there's some more space around that where that could be an opportunity. Largely, I have niched it around movement and around really speaking to physical pain. So that's has. I don't know if I would say it's been easy, but it's definitely been a clear path, because a lot of people have pain that they don't, and a lot of people want to get out of pain, physical pain. And it's, we always talk in coaching in the business sense, right? Of like the niching and finding the pain point. And, but it's so clear, right? Like my back hurts. I don't want my back to hurt. I literally can't do anything else because my back hurts all the time. Like, I mean, like it's really, it's just right there. So, I feel like it was once I kind of caught on to that was where people were meeting me initially. And then it evolved towards embodiment, right? That the process that I did was embodiment, but I wasn't really selling embodiment. That wasn't my initial connection. It was like, my back hurts or my neck hurts, or I have this pain here, or I'm recovering from this injury, or, and so I actually spent for 5 years, I had my studio. I teach a movement system as well called gyrotonic. And it's a system, I guess maybe Pilates would be the clearest thing to kind of relate it to in terms of like the way it's structured as a system. But, it's essentially a movement training system that aligns the spine and works the body to develop really integrated strength and flexibility. But I had my studio in a physical therapy clinic. And that was, really a great way to start to see that alignment, right? Of like where I fit with my clients in their journey. And it made building my business, it was the first really big key I had into like ease in my business. So, I would say for people looking to build a business in embodiment, really get clear. Embodiment as a concept isn't really, I haven't found that super useful to use in a business context, but understanding really what your client is physically experiencing in their body and what they want to shift in their body is a really great way to kind of create ease and flow really quickly in your business. So whether it's physical, it's like my back hurts, or whether it's I'm feeling anxiety, or whether it's I feel stress a lot, like these are the kind of words that I see really working for people in terms of building ease and flow and getting their embodiment businesses or practices, whether it's coaching or movement, moving, quickly and with flow. It took me a little while to kind of get into the groove of that, but yeah. So I would say, that I'm still here, and now the term embodiment. I mean, we'll see how it flows in the next 10 years, but yeah. And even the stuff that I see now that's embodiment, it's marketing embodiment. I don't know. I mean, it definitely has more clout now than it did 10 years ago. There's more. Because the consciousness is wrapped around it. So it has more energy and content. So that could change, but yeah.
What type of a person do you think is really a good practitioner, coach, facilitator of embodiment work?
Yeah, I would say someone that really loves to go deep, and really wants to get to the heart of the issue. And that has a lot of patience and willingness to go deep with themselves as well. Because one thing that I have really learned, is that all of the really great work I've done with clients has first started with myself. And being able to go deep with myself and to utilize tool sets, so that I know how to, I can show up in those spaces in myself, and I can be present and hold space for my client. So, and that takes time. That's not, necessarily something you learn in 6 weeks. I mean, that takes time to do your own work, to go through, I think all of us at some point in our adult lives kind of go through a clearing process, around our past and how we want to go forward and really live our lives. And,
Mhm.
you know, um, honestly, in my career, I train teachers in the gyrotonic system as well. And I've seen a lot of people come into embodiment work coming out of a healing experience, or coming out of some sort of deep transformation within themselves that has then inspired them, right, to go back, and they've kind of developed this capacity within themselves to listen to their bodies, to listen more deeply to their own wisdom and their own truth. And then they want to move into holding that space for others,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
they know they have a capacity to do it then,
Yeah.
so.
Well, that was exactly my experience with having had my passion map done. It was
Yeah.
facilitated for me, and then I became this magnet and this law of attraction to all the things I actually loved and lit me up. And I didn't do anything. I had just done my passion map, so I'm like, oh, I think I want to learn how to do that. So yeah, I totally get that. You
Yeah.
experience it; it has a profound effect on you, and then you want to go and
Yeah.
help let others have that same experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a certification for embodiment?
As I said, there's lots of
Yeah.
different things being offered out there. I would say if you're interested in exploring it, there's just, you can, I mean, there's so many tools available. I mean, you can, oh gosh, I mean, tools on YouTube, books you could read.
Let's,
You know,
how about we can cut that conversation there, and we'll just
yeah,
put a whole bunch of great links in the
yeah,
article part of this
yeah,
for people who want to do some digging. Does that sound good?
yeah,
And we can put some
that's
stuff about
great.
somatics, maybe some
Yeah,
mindfulness stuff. Okay.
yeah,
How can somebody work with you if they want to? I mean,
yeah.
I know that you work with um, coaches and healers, and you do this business strategy work for movement professionals. So, tell us a little bit about that, and yeah.
Yeah. I kind of work in two ways that seem to be moving closer together. Largely the beginning of my career moving into about 4 or 5 years ago was working primarily, like I said, with people that had some kind of physical pain they were dealing with, and or sort of emotional pain, right? So I work with people now, that are generally going through some kind of a health situation that they want to solve the problem. Right? So whatever the crisis is that they're going through, they want to solve the problem. They want to feel better. But they also want to develop the habits and the tool sets, to really move forward in a different way with their life. So in the last 4 or 5 years, I've kind of moved into working with people that, have hit some kind of an actual crisis. Like either they have to have a major surgery or they've had a major injury, and part of healing it requires really digging deep and deciding, like, what things might have caused it, what habits, what thought patterns, past traumas, whatever that's coming up for them, but then also looking at, like, what can they start to do differently in their lives? How can they start to build um, a tool set for themselves, to really tune in and get connected to their bodies so that they can move forward in a different way and feel more confident and make more powerful choices in their lives. They may be looking, if they're not clients that are that have a movement coaching business, they're generally people that are entrepreneurs, or they're, high level professionals, that are maybe moving into a transition in their career and they want to make some different decisions. So, I've really been seeing these really deep connections between kind of physical crises and other transitions in
Right.
life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I work with people that are going through usually some kind of physical crisis, but also kind of these other transitions that they really want to
What a
intentionally.
coincidence.
I know it's great, and it's awesome. And this is what's kind of evolving law of attraction style for me too.
Yeah.
The more I've started to pull these connections together,
So
and then
if
yeah,
somebody wants to work with you, or they're going through that transition, and maybe they're having some physical indicators in their
yeah.
body at the same time, it sounds like you would be a good person to talk to. Can you help people on Zoom, or do they need to come into the studio and be on the machines? What's the
Yeah. Well, so this year's been great because I've innovated quite a bit. So I'm actually all pretty much virtual now. And I've
Oh,
been
love that.
able to, yeah, bring all of my movement work virtually. I have, an online portal with some different protocols I use, physical protocols. I've been teaching movement virtually now for a year in terms of the embodiment stuff, embodiment work. So this year kind of kicked me into gear and realizing that there's a lot greater potential, to really connect with people in their homes with this kind of work. And honestly, I've actually seen, some of the equipment that I do use in my studio is pretty amazing, the gyrotonic equipment. But I've been able to kind of create some different home ways to work with the same movement patterns. And I've actually seen some bigger changes in my clients' lives over the last year because they've been able to make these changes in their home environment and the environments that they actually want to make and build the new lifestyle habits, right? So, from a habit change perspective, being able to make those shifts in your environment that support your new habits is actually really important. And so
It's
I've
very
actually seen some,
empowering.
it's very empowering, and
Yeah.
it's, one of the ways that you can help create, really help support change in your life. So, I've seen a lot of progress this year in ways that I did not expect, by being
Nice.
virtual and meeting people in their homes. So yeah, I'm pretty much all virtual now. And I do see some people in person still in Atlanta. And then I do as well work with some other practitioners, coaches, healers that want to really dig deeper into, how does their own personal embodiment work? How can they take that in their own transformative experience and pull that and into a business system, into a movement system, into an embodiment system that's authentic to them, that they can teach to their clients and that they can use with their clients. So I kind of help people with the creative process with that too.
Nice.
On a,
So we'll put a link
yeah,
to your
put a link
website
on my website.
on the
Yeah,
on the article, and if people want to do some digging, they can go there.
great.
So I think I'm going to go to the bonus questions now. These are the ones that I love asking. I've been asking these lately because it kind of just brings out a little bit more about you as a person,
Yeah.
as opposed to an embodiment expert. Although maybe there probably is a lot of overlap, especially in this one.
Yeah.
So, what would be your number one piece of advice today for coaches?
Oh. Hmm.
And you can feel into it.
Yeah, I would just, for coaches in particular, I think it's really important to lean in to the tools and the processes and the structures that really support you in your own transformational process. Because what I've really seen, like I said, in 20 years of doing this kind of work and also of working with other practitioners that do this kind of work, is that when you really lean into your own path, and you engage that creative process of pulling in the things that really resonate with you and work for you, whether it's a certain kind of tool set or a certain embodiment method, or if you really follow that path within yourself in terms of what's going to bring you deeper into who you are, into what you want to give, you're going to know the right things, that those are going to become the right things for you to work with clients on.
Yeah.
So it's not, it can be really that simple. It can be like, and I actually have started thinking about it this way, like, what do I need next to stimulate my creative process and my growth so that I can bring that to my clients? Because I've really seen hand in hand over, this long period of time now that I've had to do this kind of stuff, this work and my own work, that it's a synergistic process, and so you have to keep feeding the roots of the process, feeding the roots of the tree,
Yeah, no,
So,
I really love that. Really resonates just for if I'm trying that advice on for myself. And
yeah.
especially that, what do I need next to stimulate my growth? And for me, in the last year or two, it's been community. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been all about how can I build a real community, not a
Yeah.
self-serving community, but like a community that connects with each other, that goes, that breaks
Yeah.
off into pods and like just raises everybody up. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's also a principle of movement. So like in the movement world, like support precedes movement. So like, to walk, you have to feel gravity.
Hmm.
So if you really tune into like, what's the next thing you need to feel support, and to feel like you've got movement in your own life and your own process, like it's going to always give you the right answer.
I love it. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
don't hold me to that, but I
It's
pretty
so
much think
rich.
it's pretty much 99% true.
I'll back it as well. All right. What is your definition of success?
Oh, honestly, sometimes it's just making it through the day.
I
Getting to
like
the end
your
of the day and
honesty here. I appreciate it.
get to the end of the day and being like, okay, my kid's asleep. No,
You've got a what, 4-year-old, 5-year-old?
4-year-old, yeah.
Yeah.
Really at the end of the day, it's being able to have compassion with myself and others,
Mm,
because honestly, like, I mean, I like a lot of people that I work with and, a lot of people that I know. I mean, I have perfectionistic qualities, tendencies, like, I'm highly ambitious. Like, it's very easy to get to my end of my day and feel like, what did I do? Or am I going in the right direction? To get critical or, feel like I haven't met some standard or some element of where I need to be. And, I think we talked about this a little bit. Sometimes I think about the end of my life and I think about that energy of who I want to be um, when I get to let go of needing to be,
mhm.
and I think that I feel a lot of relief and I feel a lot of compassion. And I feel like that is the energy that I should align to, that gives movement, that gives really deep growth, and I've seen that. Like I know as I look back to it's what I feel when I think about that question,
Mhm.
and when I really tune into what matters to me, but it's also what I've seen, what produces healing, what produces growth,
Mm.
like step one, being able to create a relationship of safety with yourself and of self-trust. And I'm not in any way perfect at it. Or, it's
It's
like
an
a
ongoing
constant,
journey, that
an
one.
ongoing, like,
And it
well, let's
always needs
steer,
tweaking. Yeah.
steer back, It's like
I
you, I
hear
mean,
you.
you've had a little one, not in the too recent or too
Yeah.
far past future here, but it's like with toddlers sometimes. It's like
Yeah.
they're like, love you, hate you, crying,
Mhm.
laughing. I mean, it's like there's just, navigating, and you realize it's all part of it. So staying in the flow and staying compassionate,
Yeah.
remembering to do that. If I can remember to do that at the end of the day and I can wake up and remember to do that, that is,
That's success.
it's a,
Um,
yes, highly
what are
successful day.
what are you, two more questions. What are you
Yes.
grateful for?
Oh, I am absolutely grateful for all of the terrible things that have happened in my life. Not terrible, but like I had a lot of really intense challenges early in my life. Some of them were terrible, actually. Um, and I actually worked through a lot of trauma. Um, I really had to, and this is what got me into this work, because I had to attend to it to actually,
Function.
continue to move forward in my life. And I'm just, yeah, I'm grateful. I am grateful in retrospect. I think in some ways I've always felt really grateful to be alive. Even when I was going through really challenging times, I've kind of always felt a little sense of, wow, I can't believe I made it through. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like a sense of, I don't know, there's a kind of like mysterious resilience in life that I find really joyful. And so it's kept me going through a lot of the hard stuff. But I also feel like by choosing to go through it and find the support that I needed, I found a deep, 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 deep well in myself. And when more challenging things come up in my life in different ways, like I've got some place to return to, and I have a lot of resources.
You've got it. Yeah.
And I'm thankful. I'm really deeply grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
Okay, last question.
Yes.
If you could only give 3 truths to you about life, universal truths, to
Yes.
your nearest and dearest, what would they be?
Oh God, I hope my college philosophy professor's not watching. She may actually. She's
Hello.
merging towards philosophy and embodiment now. Well, I really believe that there's always an answer. I guess I really feel like even if the answer is like there's no answer, right? Like we don't know, or you don't know. then you don't know, I really believe if we tune in and we listen, and we open ourselves to receive, and this again goes back to breathing, right? Like a really tangible way to experience that we're constantly breathing, we're constantly receiving, whether we choose to or not.
Mhm.
I guess we could hold it. We could hold on to what we receive and not
Mhm.
breathe. I mean, if we're living, we're breathing, we're receiving.
Mhm.
So, I really believe if you tune in and you listen, that you will get you can find the next piece of information you need, the next kind of awareness you need to attend to in order to keep moving forward. I firmly believe in movement. So
Mhm.
I firmly believe in the principle that all life is movement. We say something's alive because it moves.
Is this your second point? All life is
Yes.
movement. Mhm.
Yes. All life is movement, and movement is always possible.
Mhm.
Gosh, my third point. I keep thinking about my grandmother, and at the end of the day, you have yourself and your ability to love yourself. And she used to always say, the Lord helps those that help themselves. And I'm Buddhist now. I'm not Catholic anymore, but I always kind of like that phrase. This idea of, that at the end of the day, like we really have the resources within us
Mhm.
to help ourselves.
Mhm.
And I really believe in our capacity to tune in and like I said, to create movement, to create healing, even if it's small, even if it's a tiny movement.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be transformation. Often the biggest transformation is some tiny little
Mm.
movement you make, right? Like of awareness or
Yeah.
energy or at one moment in time, and then you start to build it,
Mm.
So
I have a case of that really recently, and it was just a thing. And I said, no, this is not
yeah,
okay. That was a defining moment. And
yeah,
it just happened recently, but just saying no. And it was a tiny movement,
yeah. Just saying
but
no.
it's changed. It's just taken my self-confidence and my self-empowerment
Yeah,
to another level. Yeah.
that's so great.
Oh, Dawn, thank you so much for coming and
Yeah,
talking to us about embodiment.
it's good to talk to you.
Yeah. And I know it's really late for you, so I just want to thank you for coming in,
Oh
staying
yeah.
up late, and being here with us. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Got any questions, leave it in the comments for Dawn, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy coaching.